Explosive. Former nanny breaks NDA to expose Meghan Markle's shocking secrets behind closed doors. The shocking truth about Meghan Markle's hidden life. What if everything you thought you knew about Meghan Markle was a lie? What if the perfect Duchess, the loving mother, the authentic voice for change was nothing more than a carefully crafted performance? Today, we're diving deep into explosive revelations from someone who lived inside the Sussex mansion and witnessed it all firsthand. The woman who dared to speak. For years, she stayed silent, bound by legal contracts, threatened by powerful lawyers, and haunted by what she'd seen behind those Montecito gates. But now, this former nanny is breaking her silence, and what she reveals will shock you to your core. She wasn't just any employee. She was the person trusted with Archie and Lilibet, the woman who lived inside their world when cameras weren't rolling. And according to her, that world was nothing like what we've been shown. The job interview from hell. From the moment she applied, something felt wrong. The job listing itself was bizarre. Instead of asking for childcare experience or qualifications, they wanted someone who was discreet, adaptable, emotionally intelligent, and not easily intimidated. The hidden message was clear: don't outshine Meghan. Other applicants whispered that resumes were being rejected not for lack of experience, but because candidates seemed too confident, too polished, too threatening to Meghan's carefully constructed image. When she finally got called in, the process was unlike anything she'd experienced. Multiple interviews, background checks that went deeper than government clearance, and an ironclad NDA that basically signed her life away. No photos, no social media, no contact with anyone outside the estate without permission. But the real shock came during the final interview with Meghan herself. The psychological interrogation. The questions weren't about children. They weren't about safety, education, or development. Instead, Meghan asked things like, how do you handle being corrected? And what do you do when people misunderstand your intentions? The nanny described it as feeling less like an interview and more like a psychological evaluation. Meghan's eyes were cold, calculating, studying every reaction, every micro-expression. What she didn't know was that hidden cameras were recording everything, not for security, but so Meghan could analyze potential staff later, deciding who would fit into her world without ever challenging it. The perfect hire wasn't the best caretaker. It was someone who would disappear into Meghan's brand without leaving a trace, inside the House of Mirrors. Once hired, the real nightmare began. The house itself felt like a museum, not a home. Every surface gleamed, every cushion perfectly arranged. But the silence was deafening. Not peaceful quiet, but tense, measured silence, as if even the air had been told to behave. Harry seemed like a ghost of his former self. Once the joking, warm prince everyone loved, now he was cautious, distant, constantly deferring to Meghan's wishes. The nanny watched him struggle between his royal upbringing and his wife's California vision, and Meghan's vision always won. The children's routines, their care, even their presence in the house became secondary to maintaining Meghan's image. Everything was managed not by love or necessity, but by permission. The children who weren't there. Here's where the story takes a truly disturbing turn. Despite being hired as a nanny, she barely saw Archie and Lilibet. The house was filled with their photos, their artwork pinned to walls, but their actual presence was rare. Rooms stayed spotless, play areas remained untouched. The nursery door was often locked. No diaper deliveries, no stroller walks, no pediatric appointments. Staff spoke carefully when the children's names came up, as if saying too much could cost them their jobs. When Meghan appeared publicly with her baby bump, the nanny was confused. She'd been working there during that timeline, but nothing she'd witnessed matched what was being shown to the media. Other staff members shared the same unease, but no one dared question it. They'd seen what happened to people who asked too many questions. Contracts terminated overnight, phones confiscated, people simply vanished. The Netflix deception. When the Sussex documentary aired, showing their cozy family life, the nanny immediately noticed something shocking. The rooms, the furniture layout, even the direction of the light. It wasn't the same house she'd worked in. "That's not our living room," she whispered to herself. "That's not where we lived." The world saw Meghan playing with Archie on the floor, Harry laughing in the garden, sunlight pouring through windows. It looked perfect. Too perfect. For the public, it was an intimate glimpse into their private life. For her, it was confirmation that everything being shown was manufactured. The breaking point. The psychological pressure inside that house was unbearable. Meghan's moods could shift instantly. Some mornings she'd be warm and chatty about mindfulness and gratitude. Other times she was ice cold, snapping at minor imperfections. The nanny remembers one afternoon when Meghan found a single shirt with a faint crease. She didn't get angry. She just stared at it and said quietly, "This is unacceptable." Her tone was surgical, terrifying. Someone would pay for that crease, and it wouldn't be Meghan. By evening, a housekeeper had been dismissed without explanation. The empty chairs. The final straw came during what was supposed to be a family dinner, filmed for their private footage. The nanny set up high chairs for the children and waited. Meghan and Harry arrived. Cameras rolled, but the children never came. When she asked about bringing them down, Meghan's response was rehearsed. "They're fine. They'll join later." Hours passed. Dinner was served. The chairs remained empty. Later, footage appeared online showing a glowing family scene. But the nanny knew the truth. Those chairs were empty the entire time. The surveillance state. Everything in that house was recorded. Not just for security, but for control. When a tray of glasses accidentally shattered, Meghan's first reaction wasn't concern, it was irritation. "Do we need to record that again?" she asked, glancing at the ceiling cameras. They weren't living under surveillance. They were performing under it. Every word, every gesture captured not for safety, but for Meghan's perfect narrative. The final argument. The breaking point came when the nanny overheard a devastating argument. Harry's voice was desperate. "They're my children too, Meg. They need a normal life, not this." Meghan's response cut like a blade. "Normal is what ruined your mother. I won't let that happen to me or to them." The silence that followed was suffocating. Harry said nothing more. That night, she saw him sitting alone in the garden, staring at darkened windows, looking like a man who'd lost control of his own story. The Great Escape. The nanny knew she had to leave, but escaping wasn't simple. Legal contracts, NDAs, and security clauses tied her silence to her survival. Meghan's team had built a fortress that didn't just keep outsiders out, it kept insiders trapped. She planned carefully, waiting until her shift ended, collecting her few belongings, and disappearing under the pretense of visiting family. Her resignation letter was professional and brief. Within hours, her access was terminated. Her phone stopped receiving messages from the household server. It was as if she'd been erased from existence. Breaking the silence. Now, after years of legal threats and psychological pressure, she's finally speaking out. Because she says the world deserves to know the truth behind the fairy tale, the reality behind the brand built on authenticity. "The hardest part wasn't what I saw," she admits. "It was what I didn't see. The laughter, the warmth, the life. For a home filled with cameras, it was the emptiest place I've ever been." Her revelations paint a chilling picture of a woman so consumed with controlling her image that she's lost touch with reality itself. A house where children exist only when cameras are rolling, where staff disappear for asking questions, and where even love becomes a performance. The question now isn't whether Meghan Markle is who she claims to be. The question is, who is she really, and what lengths will she go to keep that truth buried? This story is far from over. As more insiders find the courage to speak, the carefully constructed image may finally crumble, revealing the disturbing reality that's been hidden behind those Montecito gates all along.